I'm sure you've done this before. So you're getting a craving for something like beef stew. And you go and you open up Google, you type in beef stew recipe or how to make beef stew. And you're greeted with this.
When it comes to making beef stew, there are 3 main ways that you can go about it. I discovered this upon my trip to Milan last August. My husband surprised me with this trip on our anniversary. First, you'll definitely need a kitchen. These can be had for the small price of $7,990.
And the reason this happens is actually twofold: monetization and Google's algorithm. So monetization is simple. Bloggers they have to make money, and sometimes, most of the times, they get a little too generous with the ads, to put it lightly. And on the other hand, Google's algorithm, for some reason, really favors long content. I think that made a lot of sense about 3 or 4 years ago, but at this point, we're getting into some issues. In many fact-based search terms, having a giant long post with all this non-essential information just doesn't make sense. And of course, one of the other reasons they put all that content in there is so that you'll scroll through many more ads. Now I think you know where this is going. So let's ask the same question to Chat GPT. And of course it spits out the perfect answer. That's great. Really great. What if I want to make the beef stew a little bit more tangy? What does tangy mean? By this point, we're all aware of this, that ChatGPT puts out some amazing information, especially with fact-based questions, where the information just exists somewhere. It's really good at pulling that in. But people are starting to use ChatGPT to create even more content-heavy blog posts, like the one that I mentioned just now. And the only thing worse than a content-heavy blog post is when that content is generated by AI. And you might be inclined to think that this is a legitimate strategy for SEO companies or individuals wanting to grow their content on their website. This would be a legitimate strategy to get more and more readers on your blog and more traffic to your website. However, I think that Google is going to be cracking down on these nonsensical blog posts very, very soon. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you why they're actually incentivized to do this, and they will come out on top. Not Bing. Let me explain. Why would anyone in their right mind search for something like a recipe or a fact-based question? Why would they search on Google search just to be greeted with a giant blog post with a ton of ads and someone's life story when they can just use their personal assistant chatbot to get the exact answer they need? These types of one-line answers are actually going to be handled by ChatGPT from now on. I mean, how many of us are already doing that? But I still think at the end of the day, Google's version of this is going to end up on top. Let me tell you why. ChatGPT is struggling with 1 or 2 or 3 things right now, but the major one is money. They don't seem to have any trouble getting investor money, but when it comes to actually being profitable, they're just not there yet. They're currently burning $3 million a day, and even though Bill's wallet is quite large, he can't do that forever. They have to eventually monetize the thing. And this is where I think the future of dialogue-based search comes in. See, Google is already experimenting with their own dialogue-based search system. And they're actually slated to overtake ChatGPT very easily because 90% of their revenue already comes from ads on content, on searches, on YouTube. They already know how to make money on ads. And it's a pretty simple transition for them to use their amazing search engine and change that into a dialogue-based system. While they're doing that, they might actually fix the other issue with ChatGPT, which if you're not aware, or I'm sure you're aware by now, is actually threefold: expertise, authority, and trust. ChatGPT has none of those. If you search for something on ChatGPT right now, there's going to be no source to it. You can ask it for sources, and I've done that before where you ask it for sources, and sometimes it'll just make them up. It'll just make up sources for things. how could a chat-based dialogue system fix the issue of monetization and expertise in a two birds, one stone kind of way? Well, I can see a future where there's actually different types of answers that are given by Chat GPT. And our example earlier with the beef stew, that one could have been sponsored by Campbell's or like a local chef. So it would say like, this is sponsored by a particular chef, and you can click on the sponsor and visit their website for more information, or better yet, you can talk to the chatbot about his services. That's where I think things are going. This is why simply regurgitating information found elsewhere is just not going to cut it anymore. But don't worry, I don't think it's going to get harder for SEO professionals or companies building their own content engines. It's just going to be different. Just like now where we use paid ads and search ads, I think there's going to be a paid option to get in front of people's searches. And I think there's going to be an organic option. Just like currently where 80% of Google's results are organic. And in the same way that you build out content for organic search, I could see us building out good content for AI to sift through and give people the best answers. Heck, I mean, Google's already doing this with their rich snippets. It's just the same thing, but delivered by Siri or delivered by a dialogue-based chat system. Could you imagine if you were able to talk to your Google Assistant like you can talk to ChatGPT? Okay, Siri, I have about 3 turnips, 2 onions, and 4 pieces of broccoli. What should I eat for dinner?
You could make a roasted vegetable medley with your turnip, onions, and broccoli. Simply cut the vegetables into similar-sized pieces, toss with oil, salt.
I mean, we're getting into Star Wars right here. I'm pretty sure the Star Wars droids were a little more dumb, but it's pretty crazy what we're getting into. And for those thinking that Microsoft is going to come out on top with Bing, I don't think so. I think Google is actually has a lot more at their disposal right now. If you work in this field like I do, definitely don't just create more nonsensical content, please. And I hope you enjoyed that video. And I think that reliance on expertise and trust is just so much more important now. And especially in areas where one wrong answer could cost someone their life. And that's why at my company, when we write articles for people, we actually help them turn their expertise into good articles. And we don't just spit out random information. And so if you're in that kind of industry and you need help creating content, we actually have a nice guide for you guys to download. And I've linked that in the description. And this can help you create your own content engine and be ready for AI. And no, this video script was not written by AI.